All right, we're back. Hello, and welcome to the stream. We are going to keep on rolling with our last playthrough session for the major contest. And we're going to go take a look at Geordie Boy's Westerly Way. Well, first thoughts. I'm enjoying what he did with the environment. Like the planting is nice. Kind of the waste areas look nice. Oh, that's not a good tee shot. I will say, I think on the first hole, like I love I'm all for like a kind of rugged, natural, bumpy terrain being used for golf holes, but I think like you have to be careful when you get like a little too bumpy, and or like, you can't get too bumpy, but um you have to have a certain amount of width um to accommodate the fact that when it gets bumpy, you're going to get very random bounces. And I feel like that first hole, it gets a little narrow for how kind of rugged that fairway is. I like the look of this par three. Like I love the way that it's laid out. I think I would make this one a touch longer. I like that. Again, I love. Sorry, got something in my throat. I love the visuals of that tee shot, but with the bunker kind of being that far in front of the green, I think it really only comes into play on holes that are a little longer and you're kind of running your shot in just a little bit more. Not that I like again, I like the hole, but I think it could be just a little bit better with with some tweaks. And then this one's kind of a short hole anyways. I get what you're going for of like, oh, there's an aggressive spot up here to play into, but um like for plat players, like their driver's blowing through that anyways, and like they can hit a three wood basically into that gap. And also, it's a short enough hole where like there's not really much of a reward for the aggressive play. It's like, oh well, now I'm hitting a pitching wedge instead of an 8 iron into this green. Like I feel very confident in my ability to hit a decent shot with either of those. Oh, almost made it. So I think it's a shot where it's kind of like the decision that it tries to make you or tries to ask of you is right there in your face, but the answer is very obvious and it really doesn't make much of a actual decision. Kind of same with this one of like, oh, like I'm really not getting any advantage for shoving driver further up and to the left. If anything, like I could arguably have. Nah, I'll have slightly more in or slightly less in, but I'm taking on a much harder shot to have a club less into this green and from an arguably worse angle. So this is another one where I think just like it asks you a question, but the answer is always I'll just lay back and like I'll play the safer route. Oops, that's just a bad putt. Because I hit a bad approach shot. I shouldn't have been over that ridge. So yeah, I think like yeah, we're 4 holes in. Actually, all right. So here we go. We're on the 5th hole, and this is the first hole where I feel like the course is not trying or forcing driver out of my hands. Like you can argue the first hole, like at least that one is one where I feel like I can justify going for it. Uh, oh, and then I guess two is a par three, so like that one doesn't really count. But um, for 3 and 4, both of those holes are kind of ask the same question of like, oh, do you want to take the aggressive driver shot? And the answer to both of those is no. Again, like 2 holes that do that over a round, not really an issue. But if we also get like, if we end up with say 12 par fours that did that, then that's an issue. It gets very repetitive. All right, visually, I like the way this one lays out. Like, this is a nicely framed tee shot. And also, I think this is, um, like, I think this is my favorite tee shot on the course so far by a significant margin. Of like, okay, like there's width to actually hit driver, um, but so again, in terms of like it, and it's wide enough where the random bumps in your fairway don't like make driver kind of untenable, like maybe the first hole. Um, but also the contours in your fairway to me make the hole more interesting, where you have a bit of like a reverse camber thing to it, which takes a an ordinarily like wide and relatively easy to hit hole and makes that tee shot one that you have to think a little bit on. Like, I wouldn't call it outright hard, but like it makes you pause for a second and think about what shot you want to hit and where you want to hit it, versus it just being completely automatic, or like one either like an automatic yes I'll hit driver, there's no reason not to, or I'll just lay back because there's no reason to hit driver. I like this. What do you want to call it? I like this look. This is a nice spot on the course. Okay, I think I have like this whole or this par three feels very similar to your first par three, just in the oh. Let's go play through ace. That's going on YouTube. Nice. We'll watch that replay. I can pause making my point to go appreciate an ace. Why not? And done. All right. Well, so now this is my favorite hole. But yeah, I'd say it feels similar to your second hole, that first par three, and just flipped the other way. Like it's a mirror image of your other par three. It kind of has a similar idea and plays to about the same length. But also, I love it because I made an ace on it. So there you go. Well, you get a bonus point now. All right, and again, like this to me, I like this tee shot as well. This is a if you're pinching driver, and like this is a good way to do like a pinched kind of tee shot. I think, um, and it's another solid use of kind of reverse camber as well. Like to me, that's how you potentially, like force driver out of a plat player's hands is, like I can do it pretty easily because I don't have the longest driver. Like I'm essentially laying up slightly, but if my driver went further than that, then that I'd start to get a really dicey tee shot. But it does so with plenty of width. It just makes it difficult via contours. Hello, how's it going? Welcome in. Oh my god. Where'd that come from? Well, that was different. All right, so now we're not even going to make it to our preferred uh, tee shot. Yeah, Grenade, you missed the ace on the last hole, or the seventh hole, not the last hole. But so you get to pop in and watch me hit the terrible shots. You don't get to watch me hit the good ones. That was an ugly hole, but we'll take it. That was just bad. Oh, well, it's kind of a layup, anyways. Yeah, again, I like. Um, I will say, like, this feels like the third kind of hole that on the, well, I guess not front nine, it's front 10 that kind of does the camber pinched fairway thing. Like, I like that as a concept, but I just be careful about overdoing that. And also, this is another, like, to me, it feels like it doesn't matter as much taking driver out of somebody's hands when you're hitting a wedge into the hole anyways. That one yeah, just more pinched driver things. And like the rest of the course hasn't been easy or anything, but it feels like pinching driver is sort of the one thing that this course does to to add difficulty, and it sort of hammers it home really hard, really often. That was just a terrible putt. All right. And again, and like for me, this style of course, again, the big rugged waist areas and like bumpy fairways and what do you want to call it? Like kind of big, bold, rugged features really suits a wide course where like that really emphasizes angles and things. Where, like, to me, for this style of course, like pinching driver being the main source of your difficulty is kind of the last thing that you'd want to do. Like, if anything, you would be like you'd probably want to kind of concede like hitting fairways on most holes, but really emphasize like again like with green complexes and contours like preferred spots to be, and maybe you make like centerline bunkers close to those spots, so you're playing close to the bunker to get a good angle into the green, and if you play to the kind of the conceded open easy tee shot, then you have tougher approaches, and that's where the difficulty comes from. Is that potentially difficult to do well? Sure. Especially like, well, I should say, I think that's very easy, or that's not that hard to do at, say, a CC level. It gets a lot harder to do that well at like a major contest level. I will admit that. But to me, it just feels like I like a lot of the things this course is doing, but it feels like there's a little kind of dissonance in its, like it's trying to do slightly contradictory things. Or, it's got a rugged feel, and then it's got Oakmont width to it, of just like, here's a tight 20-yard spot that you need to hit your tee shots into, or you end up in a big deep bunker, or like thick heavy rough. Like, the style of course and the type of golf that it's asking you to play feel different, if that makes sense. And maybe that's just me, but like that's more of a preference thing. I think like the as far as the kind of repetitive pinched driver stuff goes, like that's more of a technical issue that I think most or all of the judges would pick up on. The kind of change, or the difference in tone between the environment and the golf might be more of a me thing. But it's worth, like, if I notice it, it's worth mentioning at least. Because again, that's what these playthroughs are for. It's just me giving my personal opinions on stuff. Kind of take it or leave it. There's nothing, there's nothing that says that you have to agree with them. Let's see. Yeah, this is kind of a weird. Well, like this one's certainly hard. I don't know if like this hole might be a touch long for this green idea. Like I don't think there's any way to get close to that pin. I guess if you could somehow land it on that back. Nah, yeah, I think this is just straight up like you can't reach this pin. I don't mind like a long par three where oh god, that's just a bad putt. Um, we're aiming at the pin isn't like a great idea, and it's just like, hey, you should take par and move on. But this is one where like it feels like it's basically impossible to hit this pin. Like, ill-advised, sure, like that's fine by me, but physically impossible is me. Like you want at least there to be an option of a good shot to make a birdie. Like that's one where like the play is basically to bail out on the fringe right and then just hope for a chip in. Like that's how you make a birdie on that hole. All right. We've decided to dial the green contours up a bit in the last couple holes. That might be too much. Yeah, a little, but not by that much. All right. Oh, and then this is an interesting choice. Drivable par 4 18th. Again, and this is definitely more of a personal opinion. I don't know if I really like a drivable par 4 as an 18th. Like it's certainly a splashy hole to have as a closer, but I don't know, like to me it feels like it's better in a closing stretch than as the actual last hole. There's a place for it. And like I don't dislike it. It just it doesn't do that much for me personally. Especially on a major course where you kind of expect to have maybe kind of a little bit of a ball buster for the last hole, and then one where you can kind of have like a conceded birdie. Feels just a little like anticlimactic, I guess. Let's see. When's that meeting? Wednesday. Yep. All right. All right. But anyways, thank you for the course. That was fun. And thank you everyone in chat for following along. But yeah, I think final thoughts. Just it pinched driver a lot. Like that was kind of its main source of difficulty, and it got a little repetitive. But as a whole, I enjoyed the environment was nice. The golf was pretty solid. A little up and down in spots, but as a whole, I enjoyed that one. But yeah, I think it was just like a little out paced by some of the other courses in the contest. Where there's some good ideas and good stuff here, but just a little up and down, and it's kind of tough to come back from the down bits or the repetitive bits in a strong contest field. But anyways, we'll wrap this one up and we'll jump straight into the next playthrough. For those of you in chat, we'll catch you momentarily, and for those of you watching on YouTube, we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.